I have yet to see any like black people really. Mostly white folks, Asians with dogs. I just saw 2 cars with dogs in their back seats with the windows down, dogs sticking their heads out the window. That was interesting. I don't care if it's just a job. I wonder what went wrong in his life for him to do this job, for him to do this work. Yeah, any job, any work is, any honest day's work is good, but I wouldn't want that for myself, to do that job. That's my own hang up, personally. My mom and dad sent me to a private school. I got a good education, got my degrees. There should be more for me. Now, if he doesn't have degrees and whatnot, then I mean, those are the cards that he's dealt, and I shouldn't pass any judgment on him whatsoever. But I'm saying for myself, I'm saying that I look at him and I see something familiar in him. I see something different from these people and the majority of people I see walking around here now. And what I'm saying is I see race. He looks like he could be Brazilian, Latino, something. Could be an immigrant. He could be living his best life as an immigrant. But me, I was born and raised right here in Los Angeles. I got my degrees. I wouldn't want to do that, and I shouldn't have to do that. But representations of myself, seeing people who are anything like me, quote unquote minorities, working in jobs like these. All right, let me give you a better idea. Security guards. Security guards. Whenever I see security guards, they're always brown or black. That's what I'm saying. Like this security guard right here. What's his story? Downtown Culver City. At some point I learned that this, at one time, Culver City was a sundown town. That I also learned that Louis Armstrong performed here at a club and went outside to smoke some reefer. He was arrested. Lucille Ball's show was filmed here at the Culver Studios, which are right there to the left. King Kong was filmed at those studios, and Orson Welles had an office at the Culver Studios too. Orson Welles had RKO Studios. That was his company. This is the service area, service center of the Toyota dealership in Culver City. and far between any African American employees here. Few and far between. Everywhere you look. Non-African American, Latinos. Here, nope, that's not my car. I thought it was mine. Nope. Anthony Bourdain was a very cool person, a very nice man, a good man. He sat with people and talked with them about the history of their country, their cities, and he asked them about their future. He asked them about their concerns over delicious meals. He sat with them, he talked with them in order to understand them, understand their concerns. In today's society, I think that we don't share enough. I think that we are very much waiting for a product to be presented or something for us to buy to say that we did it and that we've done it, rather than dealing with the milieu, dealing with the real. Sit with people and talk to them and get to know, what's really going on, rather than let's wait for them to prepare something for us to consume and then we can exit having thought, oh, that was a nice meal they prepared for us, or wow, that was a nice experience. Let's consume, let's buy that again. Rather be more a part of that experience. The communities in Los Angeles have changed dramatically, and it's a product of our society, what we are taught to do or what we are conditioned to do. We're conditioned to have this herd mentality, stick together, stay together, do the things, keep up with the Joneses. That's always been apparent in our society. Dress a certain way to be accepted, act a certain way, think a certain way, keep up appearances. That's not how humanity works. That's not what it means to be alive. That's conformity within a society. Because when things fall apart and we can't keep up and we can't keep our appearances up, and when life really gets funky, well then, that's reality. Well, I guess that's really when things fall apart. In 2007 and 2008, during the subprime mortgage crisis, that's when things fell apart for my community. I remember there being, as it's been stated, as I've learned, it was 80% African American in my community. And then if you look at the same community today, it's far less, probably 50% or less African American. I've heard the stories about families, having to foreclose on their properties, losing homes after family members died. But during 2007 and 2008, those problems or whatever stressors those families were feeling, they came to a head and they lost their homes, and so many of those families were washed out. It was like a tsunami of a financial wave, and then of a financial crisis, and then so many people were displaced, moved to other communities. Our community has never looked the same. the communities have been washed out, as I've learned at different times throughout history. The Crenshaw community, the Crenshaw district that I know and love and grew up around and near. Well, that Crenshaw community was once populated by Japanese Americans. And these Japanese Americans weren't so insular that they didn't care for others or those who were different from them. No, they were very inclusive. It was a very inclusive community, but they were targeted. They were targeted around World War II. After Pearl Harbor, Japanese American citizens were targeted because they were thought, or they were demonized as terrorists because they were Japanese and because they could potentially have connections to their homeland, which many of them did. But the fact that they were Japanese Americans and citizens and that they were upwardly mobile, that was overlooked. It was just that they were Japanese and Japan had attacked America. Therefore, they were targeted and then they were rounded up, sent to concentration camps or internment camps. And these families lost their wealth, their foothold, their foundation in America. And so for what you had a predominantly Japanese community in Crenshaw, in the Crenshaw district. That whole community was wiped out, essentially, due to World War II politics. And Los Angeles looks very different today because of what happened to that community at that time. I'm Black, I'm African American. I've seen another event. I saw the subprime mortgage crisis of 2007, 2008 affect my community and shift the demographics. And I'm watching as different people who are now in the community who weren't before. I'm watching these shifts and these changes. And although my family has been able to weather the storm, as it were, I know that it takes a very special person, a very special mentality to weather the storm. One like Anthony Bourdain, someone who looks far deeper beyond the surface, who knows history, who is very willing to talk to the average person rather than make a snap judgment about them based upon the way they're dressed, based upon what food they decide to eat. You know, I'm very comfortable eating at an Ethiopian restaurant. I'm very comfortable. Of course, it's Los Angeles. I'm very comfortable with Mexican food, but not only Mexican food, El Salvadorian food, Honduran, Ecuadorian, Peruvian. But full transparency, I haven't been to a Salvadorian restaurant recently, a Honduran or Ecuadorian restaurant. I haven't been to those in Los Angeles recently. I did travel to Ecuador, Panama, Costa Rica, Puerto Rico, Colombia recently over the summer. So you have to be willing to step out of your comfort zone. Even in the city that you grew up in, you've got to be willing to step outside of those boundaries. Our society is just dying. It's Hispanic Heritage Month, and rather than I asked the students, I said, how are you going to dress during Hispanic Heritage Month? I asked them because that was the expectation. Wear something that reflects Hispanic heritage. Many of them said, in America, our culture is mall culture, shopping mall culture. How else are the Latinos going to dress but how they, they're going to wear the clothes that they buy at the malls? And I thought, but that's so sad. You have a rich culture in your homelands of Mexico and Peru and Nicaragua, Guatemala, and why wouldn't El Salvador? I mean, why wouldn't you wear the clothes that are traditional to your lands right here in America, in Los Angeles? And for some of them, really, there's such a great detachment from those lands, those communities, those cultures, that they feel uncomfortable even putting those native clothes on. I'm a black man and I put those clothes on because I've traveled to those countries. I've eaten the food. I sat with those people. I've learned their language, and I'm more comfortable putting on their clothes than they are in America, because they don't want to be, I think it's because they don't want to be connected to that. They don't want to be thought of as, I guess, an immigrant. They want to be as far removed from the ideal of a new transplant, of someone who has recently arrived and only has memories of their homeland. They want to be this new type of Latino, I imagine. I heard from a teacher one day. He said that when his family came from Puerto Rico, a Spanish family, a Puerto Rican family, Spanish-speaking family in Puerto Rico, when they came to America, he said that his father told them, no more Spanish. You're in America now, you speak English. He's of Puerto Rican descent, but you could never tell it because he didn't practice his native language, Spanish. 50 some odd years later, he is what looked to me to be a black man in America, but he's a Puerto Rican man who has no ties to Puerto Rico, because America is the land of opportunity and was the land of opportunity for him and his family. I walked around today and I saw white people everywhere with money, with dogs, I saw went to expensive stores. I know the history of these places, specifically Culver City. It was a sundown town, meaning blacks were not allowed there in the past. And to see that blacks are not there in great numbers, I mean, I understand we've had a community near Leimert Park, but Leimert Park is very different from Culver City. I don't see blacks walking around in Leimert Park with their dogs the way that I see white people walking around with their dogs in Culver City. I don't see the burgeoning economic centers that I see in Culver City. I don't see them in Leimert Park. Those are my thoughts.